Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever part of your day you're at working on your Flex Day assignment for science. The handout that you have in front of you, you should have the handout Gizmo, Plants, and Snails, is due at the start of next class. Part D on that handout is due by the end of Flex Day. So we're here on item number 1, and you are watching the screencast. And let's start there with item number 1 together. Here's the handout. What important gas do we take in when we breathe? So going back to our carbon dioxide oxygen cycle illustrations that we recently finished up in class, of course, that also important gas that we take in is oxygen. On your handout for item number 1, you're simply going to put oxygen. Item 2, why don't we run out of the important gases that we need to stay alive? Going back to this handout, producers are going through photosynthesis and they are producing the gas oxygen that we need. So for question number 2, please don't just put plants because plants are not the only producers. We're going to put producers go through photosynthesis comma, providing the gas that we need to stay alive. Okay, for the next part of this, we're going to go to the Gizmo Plants and Snails, and we're going to work through the warm-up together. Please log into your Gizmo account if you have not already. The login should be your student ID followed by SACS. Your password should be Gizmos, all lowercase. Let's go ahead and launch the Gizmo. Okay, so what we're going to take a look at here is just how the features of this particular Gizmo work. In the Plants and Snails Gizmo, each of the test tubes contains water and a small amount of bromothionyl blue, BTB. BTB is a chemical indicator. An indicator changes color when the chemicals in the water change. So on your handout, question number 1, with the lights set to on, drag a snail into one test tube and a plant into another. Press play. After 24 hours, what is the color in each test tube? So let's see how we set this up. So here you see we can turn the lights off. We can turn them on. We are to have the lights on. We're going to drag one snail into a test tube. And we're going to drag a plant, an Elodea sprig, into another test tube. We press play. Here is the play button. We're going to let 24 hours elapse. Okay, so here are the ending results. So the test tube with the plant in it, my test tube B is blue. The tube with the snail in it is, which was test tube A for me, is yellow. That's what we're going to write for question number 1. The test tube with the snail turned yellow. The test tube with the plant turned blue. Moving on to question 2 for the warm-up. Select Show Oxygen and CO2 values. Place the O2, CO2 probe in each tube. The probe shows the levels of 2 gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide, in the tubes. We call these amounts the gas level. So we're going to select this box, Show Oxygen and CO2 values in ppm. ppm stands for parts per million. So here we see the oxygen is at 1.8 parts per million, and the carbon dioxide is at 10.2 parts per million. That's test tube A. Now you can just click and drag this to the other test tube. And now we see that the test tube with the LED sprig is at 11.9 parts per million for the oxygen level and 0.1 for the carbon dioxide level. Let's look at our questions. When the water turns blue, which gas is most common? So that is oxygen. So here when it is blue, the oxygen again was at the 11.9. B. When the water turns yellow, which gas is most common? So that's going to be carbon dioxide. And here you see the carbon dioxide, when the water turned yellow, was at 10.2. C. What does this tell you when the water is green? So let's look. Here we have in my test tube C and D, the water is green. So let's click and drag the marker for gas levels. And when you click and drag it to the test tube that is green, we see that those gas levels are equal. So for question C, the levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide are about, comma, if not, comma, equal, period. Okay, so now that you have a good look at how this particular gizmo operates, you're going to work through activity A. You're going to work through activity B. You will then work through activity C. And then you get to a part D. Part D, answer the 5 questions located below the launch gizmo. Each question is 2 points. You do not need to submit anything for this. Take your time. I automatically get your results of your first attempt. So let's go here below the launched gizmo. This is where you find your 5 assessment questions. Make sure that you have done activity A, B, C before you do the 5 assessment questions. After you answer the 5 assessment questions, you may check your answers to see how you did. Have a great Flex Day. If you have any questions, please message me on Canvas.